How you doing, everyone? Sean O'Kane here for Chip Estimate TV. We're at CDNLive 2019 at the Santa Clara Convention Center. With me today is Mr. John Blyler, our world traveler. John is part of his company, JB Systems, and
do the blog.
John does
other things, right?
Oh yeah. John does a bi-weekly blog for chipestimate.com, and it's very well read. And every month and a half, we have John join us and talk about his travels and some of the new and exciting things that are happening. And we're, real life stuff, like all this. You'll hear noise and setup and stuff. That's real world, ladies and gentlemen. So
we can't help it.
Yeah. So you're going to hear other voices and silverware and plates.
Yeah.
And that's the way we like it. This is the kind of background.
That's right.
It's like music to our ears.
That's
okay.
Right. We're on the street.
So news about IP, news about Okay.
We need one of those.
Facebook acquired.
Yes.
Who?
Sonics.
Right. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, so Sonics is, of course, a on-chip networking company. Mm-hmm. This is another kind of sign of system companies like Apple and platform companies like Facebook and Google acquiring IP and semiconductor companies to do their own captive SoCs. It's a trend that seems to be accelerating.
Okay.
Add to that news of the fabs, right?
What happened? Global Foundries.
So,
what are they doing?
Global Foundries is beginning to sell off some of their fabs. And they have a lot, right? Charter in Singapore and some in the US, right? The IBM fabs run. That's an opportunity, perhaps, for some of these system and platform companies to maybe grab a fab. I mean, I'm just guessing here, but...
it's like an Oprah show. You get a fab, you get a fab, you get a fab.
That's right.
Just look under your chair, ladies and gentlemen.
They're right there.
Okay, go ahead.
2 nanometer, 3 nanometer, I guess.
Yeah.
However, of course, these fabs could be perhaps acquired by other governments as well. So let me add into this an initiative that DARPA has now for a couple of years, but it's in its second phase. This is the Electronic Resurgence Initiative. And it's a desire to make sure that the design, but also the manufacturing strength of the U.S. kind of is balanced in the U.S.
Got it.
So there's lots of dynamics in our little world.
TSMC. This is interesting. The big
right.
mothership there.
The mothership, yes. They're having some hiccups, a bit of a slowdown. The capital equipment manufacturers are too. But you know what? The cycles of the semi-space. In this case, though, it's the slowdown of the iPhone, the smartphones, excuse me, of which iPhone is a big part. Some of the GPUs for different companies, and I guess they had some sort of chemical defect during the last quarter. So some ups and downs, but we're used to those in the space, right?
You were talking about initiatives, and I don't know if we delved into this, or can we? The ERI, Electronic Resurgence Initiative.
Right. That's what I kind of was hinting at with this sell-off of fabs for Global Foundries. So we have to be careful and not lose all of our IP, our fabs, to other governments. It's not an anti-China, but China has its 2020 or 2025 initiative where they want to be the dominant player in the semiconductor space globally. And whatever China does, everyone pays attention to, understandably. So just as I say, a very dynamic global environment we're in.
Talk about the phase 2 you mentioned in some of your notes.
Yes.
2019.
So that starts up the end of last year, early this year, and the focus now is much more on the manufacturing capabilities in the U.S. in the semiconductor space, electronic space, as well as security and I think collaboration among companies. So security, manufacturing are going to be heavy in this, and collaboration in this second phase.
Okay, since we're here at CDNLive, talk about some of the hot topics here at the conference.
Yeah. What's going on here is great. It reflects what's going on at some of the big global conferences. Hanover Messe.
Yep.
That's like they really focus among other things on
an
embedded world too, right?
And the
digital factory, a lot of AI, and of course there's a lot of AI going on here. There was the announcement with Green Hills,
Yes.
not necessarily AI, although it's certainly embedded RTOS and things like that.
Hey, let me just jump in here. We had an interview with Kelvin Lowe with ARM.
Oh, yes.
We talked briefly about a very hot topic surrounding autonomous vehicles, and they have a safety ready program.
Yeah.
And that is addressing the autonomous vehicle safety needs, which is really important.
Yep.
And maybe
And mandated too.
But and so you
have to
were
do it.
doing some talking about the autonomous vehicle space here.
Right.
Maybe you want to go and.
There's a whole slew of interesting examples. Let me just pick out one. So there's the 2626.2, so reliability of electronics, and the process for developing these designs. An interesting example I ran across and I wrote about was, a lot of new cars have the ultrasonic sensors, the little dots you see kind of around the fenders and whatnot.
For parking.
For parking, well, for other things too, but a lot for parking, yes.
Yeah.
However, manufacturers only want to use a certain number of these sensors, so it's not enough to really get good tight parking. Their companies are looking more at millimeter wave, and so now kind of a 5G-ish antenna for LiDAR, and so now you'll be able to really get far more accurate parking. So you've got the ultrasound camera and LiDAR. So again, many different ways of looking at the same thing, so you be sure that it's safe and reliable. If one goes, the other one is still there.
Okay. Yeah. So what's new for John Blyler in 2019? Where's your next stop? Is it going to be semi?
That's an interesting thing too. No, I'm going to visit Dassault's 3D experience again. Dassault, like Siemens, are very much into the adaptive manufacturing and automotive and a whole bunch of other things. Then it'll be DAC, so see each other again. And Semicon West is getting a little more DAC-ish. So I believe it's time for another trip there.
And we as in ChipEstimate.com and Chip Estimate TV might be there as well.
Cool, very cool.
So if you're there, right?
We ought to chat.
Yeah. Well, for this guy, Mr. John Blyler, my name is Sean O'Kane. We always enjoy having John join us and tell us about his experiences and his travels all around the world. So thank you again. We'll see you next time on Chip Estimate TV.
Thanks, Sean.